Hi everyone, it's Ryan and welcome to part 3. As some of you already know, there is a part 1 and part 2 already out there if you want to catch up. But today I'm going to be talking about placements that I did at my university when I was living away from home. So after all the social aspects and getting settled into the university, it was time to go out and apply what we had learned. I got my allocation and I was placed on a medical elderly ward. At this time, I'd never worked in a hospital before, and I was quite excited, to be honest, and I was raring to go. So I started to prepare. I started to do research on that geriatric medicine and what's involved and the kind of duties that I would be doing and carrying out on the ward when I go there as a student nurse. So the first thing that I did is I made a little acronym, which I'm going to share. And that acronym is car up and good to go. So all of this acronym includes everything that you will need to do in order to be ready to go on your placement. So call up, good to go. The C stands for call up. To call up your placement, make them aware of you, make them aware that you've been allocated to come and work on their ward for your placement, and just introduce yourself. Okay, the A stands for allocation. You need to know what shifts you've been allocated to and who the ward have allocated you to. I found this out the hard way because sometimes uni do give you the contact details of the person that you need to contact, but that person that you need to contact is normally the ward manager, and it's not always that the ward manager is your mentor and the one that you're going to be working with. They would have allocated you somewhere else, so it's important to know that roster. You need to know what your first shifts for your first week are, so you know what days you need to be in and you can plan and organise other activities of your daily life around that. Also, some wards can do your roster up to like a month in advance, some will do it 2 months in advance, some will do it for the whole placement, and some will do it on a weekly basis. So it's important to know what kind of roster your ward goes off, so you know and you can plan again around your daily life and other things that you need to do in your academic life. I am looking down slightly as I'm reading off this, so ignore me. U is for uniform. Uniform, you need to make sure you've got all your uniform, you need to make sure you've got enough uniform, you need to make sure you've got your name badge, and you need to make sure that your uniform is prepared the night before. So ironing your uniform, as that's an infection prevention and control measure, and also making sure that there is no and you look presentable to be on the ward. Good impressions are lasting impressions, and good impressions can sometimes determine the outcome of your whole placement. So uniform. Prepare. If you're somebody that likes to prepare meals, it would be good to prepare a meal before your shifts, so the night before, so you know you've got something to eat. 12 hours is a long time to spend on the ward and you will get hungry. You are using your brain, so you're using mental energy, you're also using physical energy because you're going to be carrying out tasks, and you need good balanced food to keep you going through that shift. So I'd suggest doing a meal prep if you can, and being able to have enough meals and enough snacks to get you through the shift. And good to go. Once them key things have been solved and are sorted, you are good to go on your placement, and you are good to go on for your first shift. So my first day on placement, I remember getting up at around 4:30 in the morning. Good to be early, as again, first impressions count. I walked to the train station, obviously after having a shower and getting prepared, and I walked to the train station and got the train to where I needed to be. So the train station was a 15-minute walk from where I was staying, and I jumped on the train, and it was a half-an-hour journey that took me to the area of the hospital that I was in. So by the time I'd got the train, I still had about 45 minutes before my shift started, and the bus journey was only 5 minutes. So I decided to get some breakfast and treat myself to a coffee, as it's my first shift. As I got off the train station, there was a Starbucks, so I treated myself to a coffee and a little snack for breakfast. Jumped on the bus, it was a 5-minute journey, and I arrived at the hospital half an hour before my shift had started. So I found the ward where I was based and tried to memorize the route that I took to get to the ward, obviously because you're going to need this for however weeks, months you are there for. And I walked onto the ward, and it was still the night staff. I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Ryan, I'm a student nurse, it's my first day today." And they showed me where I could put my things, and then told me the room that we'll be meeting for handover 20 minutes later. So I went, I put my bag up, I had a breather, I used the toilet, and hydrating myself, drank some water, and made sure I was ready and went and sat in the handover room 15 minutes before. As I say, these impressions last because as soon as the ward manager walked in, she went, "Oh, you're early." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here and I'm ready to go." So first impressions do count, because that shows that you're organized and you are, you're good, you've got good attendance and you are committed and you are excited to be there, which is always a good sign to show the wards. After handover, I was told who I'd be working with that day and what nurse I'd be working with and the nurses that I've been paired to work with for my whole placement experience. And then after that, I started to get an orientation, and they would show me things like where the fire exits are, where the crash trolley is, which is important because if there is a medical emergency and you're the one that they're looking up to go and get the trolley, you need to know where it is and you need to get it fast. They showed me where the toilets are on the ward, where the patient toilets were, what bays were on the ward, and whether it was a female bay, a male bay, and side rooms. They also told me the staffing, what they normally have, but obviously this isn't always adhered to due to short staffing, but they told me what they should have and that they're normally good with the staffing. So after that, I got to know my mentor a bit more, introduced myself and said what I'm here to do, what experience I'd had so far and whether I'd done anything. And she basically said, for the first couple of days, you need to know how to do your personal care and be able to get used to talking to patients and working in a ward setting, which I agreed on. So she put me with one of the HCAs that was working in the bays at the time, and we cracked on with the morning washes and giving out breakfast. So I learned how to roll a patient, how to wash patient, what's a good bed bath, how to change the beds, also what kind of checks we need to do in the morning. So pressure checks where you check the patient's skin and make sure that it's intact. If it's not, where you document that. Some patients are on nutrition and food charts, so after breakfast we started to fill them out as well, as this needs to be monitored in order to monitor the patient and see what their intake and input and output are, and that's what I did for majority of the day. The nurse started doing the medication round and she invited me to come round with her and see what kind of medications are giving out. And for that first shift I was just observing, rightly so, and getting the grips of it. And she did say as I progressed on the placement I'll be doing more and be able to dispense the medications with supervision. That's pretty much it of what I did on the first day. As the weeks went on, the duties ranged and I started to get more responsibility. They were really empowering and they were really welcoming. They were really lovely to work with, and would also pull out opportunities that were good. Anything that was happening that they thought were beneficial to my learning, they would make sure I was there and be able to observe. As the weeks went on, I started giving out medication supervised and being able to recognize what certain medications did. One of my mentors was always asking me what this medication does and what is it for, and that really helped me to this day, because it always makes me think now before I give out anything, what does it do, how is it going to affect the patient, and what is the outcome and side effects of this medication if they are to occur. And it's just very good practice. They got me filling in paperwork and writing in nursing notes, which is legal documentation. What a nurse has to fill out, and it's basically a summary of the day and any problems. All professionals can write in the medical notes, and it also gives you an idea of the plan for the patient that you are caring for. And you can definitely see, and on your first couple of weeks, don't expect to be doing everything because you need to observe and get a feel for the place that you are. But as you prove yourself and as you work hard and show your commitment and dedication, the responsibilities start to come naturally, and you start to see your development yourself. You look back, and also you start to look back in your pad or placement portfolio, and you can also see how far you've come. It may not look apparent at the start, but as the weeks go on, you will start to see your own development, and you'll be very proud of yourself. So that was it. I really enjoyed this first placement. It was really good. The staff were friendly. I felt part of the team, and there was a lot of learning experiences, and I did really enjoy the medical side of it. And it was good to see what happens on the medical ward and the type of interventions that are taking place. I was going to talk about both wards in this video, but as I'm aware, it's coming on 10 minutes, so I'm going to do a separate video and talk about the surgical ward. But overall, I really enjoyed working on this elderly medical ward, and the staff were amazing.